Alright, what's going on with Dusk Till Dawn? Right, Illusionist Defense Reaction, card number 218. Again, this is, I think, the funnest part, for me at least, when it comes to speculating on Dusk Till Dawn, is looking at the card numbers and the layout of the set to try and get an idea of where all the cards are going to go and who's going to get how many cards. And simply put, this is just baffling to me, right? Illusionist 218, near the end of the deck, away from what I would probably assume would be the majority of other class cards. Unless, that is, unless you start thinking of it in a different light, okay? So, hear me out. We have all the specializations, right? Briar or Earth, Ice, Lightning, Guardian, Warrior, Shapeshifter. I still am heavy on this idea that all the specializations, there'll be one for every single hero, and they will run in a consecutive order, right? So they're not split up depending on the classes that they belong to. And then that leaves this Illusionist, say that the Illusionist will occupy all the last slots of the set. But I can't chalk it up to that either, because that seems crazy to me, right? We go Light, probably Light Illusionist, Light Warrior, Shadow, Shadow Runeblade, Shadow Brute, class specializations, and then Illusionist, with generic slotted somewhere in between. It just doesn't make sense, unless maybe there's no generics in Dusk Till Dawn, but that seems crazy as well. I mean, we have Unite is the big new thing introduced in terms of the applicable text for generics. So to have some generics that actually use the Unite capability. It could work, right? But altogether, I am just completely stumped into the layout. The other thought I had was maybe it will go Majestics as specializations, then Majestic class cards, right? So whatever the different heroes are. So, for instance, Illusionist is at 218 right now. Right, so Illusionist Majestics 218. Okay, there is 236 cards in the set. We already know that overall there is a larger volume of Majestics in Dusk Till Dawn than any other set. So I could possibly see it, being, again, all these specializations grouped together. So the Cheyenne specialization runs till 215. I would hope to see Merchant at least, especially if we are tackling these themes of PvE. Whether or not we see Bard or the Taylor character, which I still haven't looked into what she is, right? But I don't think she's playable anyway. But in terms of specializations, right? All the classes, all 13, including Merchant, including Shapeshifter, and then all of the class Majestics. So all the Majestics being at the end of the set. Well, aside from the specific ones, right? Because we obviously have Light at 12, so that's the Angel Allies. Then Unite We Stand being at 79. This in itself is crazy as well, right? Because usually all the Light cards are grouped together, and all the Majestics are grouped at the start of the card pool. Yet here we are with a Majestic Light action card at 79, and then a Majestic Light action card at 12. So I guess Angels first, and then other Light cards, right? Just the whole construction of this set, in comparison to all the previous sets, is just mind-boggling to me. I can't really get a read on it at this point in time. All I can sort of do is speculate. There is the set tracker sheet, which we'll use, because this is very, very handy, right? So we've got Light Illusionist at 1, although these are questionable, right, because we only have the promo versions. And then we have the Invoke Bologna, the other face of the card, which I don't even know if it will be. Invoke, yeah, so we've got this new idea of Figments. That's the new Prism's big resource to sort of bring her in line with the Illusionist mechanic in the way of Dromai and turning Ash to dragons. Right, so we have Light Illusionist, but the Angels aren't Light Illusionist, right? They're Light Allies. And I don't think the opposite face of the card will be, Illusionist, and then the actual Angel will be Light Ally. I would assume they still stick together, but that does make a bit more sense if you were to group classes like that. So again, we would have Light Illusionist, Light Warrior, then Light cards, which is what they've broken up the set as, which makes sense with Unite We Stand being a Majestic, okay, and then Shadow Brute, Shadow Runeblade, and then Shadow cards. Then, again, I'm chalking this up to specializations, not Brute, not Guardian, and then the generic is gonna be... Oh, this is so confusing. The generic are going to be Majestics of each of the hero cards. Right? As crazy as that sounds, I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of generics. And again, if you compare it to any other set in the layout, right? Generics are always at the end, okay? Rarity always goes downwards, right? So Fabled Majestics, Legendary Majestics. No, that's interesting. This is Majestics before Legendary. But everywhere else, it goes Legendaries to Majestics. Aside from the token cards, because it usually goes equipment, then play cards. Oh, this is just so confusing. Redback Shroud is 11, right? That's not earlier? Alright, I don't know what they're doing anymore. Do you? Do you have any idea? I mean, what do you hope to see? Because at this point in time, I can't gauge, again, what direction Dusk Till Dawn is heading. From the looks of it, it is going to beam heavily on Light Shadow, again, with this specialization element. And I was, again, hoping that we would see some more Cheyenne cards. So in terms of what's laid out here, I think we should break that down a little bit better. So they've got Illusionist running from 218 to the next cards. I think that's wrong. I think we're going to see one or two Majestics, probably one Majestic. I think we'll see one Majestic for each element. There's a supplemental set so the tokens aren't necessary. Also, that's something to keep in mind. Yes, they were in, say, Crew, and I think Everfest still had some tokens, right? But they're not necessary, unless they're new tokens. So I personally would expect to see all the class specializations, right? So we have Briar, we have Oldhim, we have Lexi, then we'll have all the main heroes. So Brutes, Guardian, Ninja, that doesn't make sense either. Right? Because in all sets, there has been shown to us a pre-existing order, right? A rationale behind card numbers. Okay, the classes always follow the same layout and schematic. Yet here we are, Brute is questionable, Guardian, and then Ninja. But there's two cards, right? So we can't go Guardian, Ninja, Warrior. Because usually it goes Brute, Guardian, Ninja, Warrior. Is that right? I know Brute is always first in Welcome to Wraith or any set it comes in. Then Guardian, then Ninja. Are they alphabetized? Is that what's going on? I mean, Cheyenne is S, so that makes sense. And Shapeshift is S. That's actually the better way to put it. But the embodiments are not. Elemental's not before B. So boggling. Now, obviously, I'm not tackling the actual card effects or anything like that. I mean, there's cool ones, especially Unite We Stand. The hints at PvE elements, that the fact that they're building towards PvE is a great thing. But just altogether, I am just hung up on the set, right? And what cards will occupy the set, what it will actually support, because there's obviously no room for actual shapeshifter cards outside of the one specialization. At least personally, I don't think there is. And altogether, I don't think we'll see an abundance of class cards, which is even worse, to be honest, with everything we've been discussing in terms of box incentive and demand. Right? If the main appeal is Light and Shadow, with these specializations sprinkled on, right? Everyone's just going to buy the specialization. No one's going to open the boxes for the specializations. So, yeah, I'm completely boggled. What do you think? What do you expect from the layout of the set, right? Do you think it's going to heavily theme Light, Shadow again, and then just sprinkle on everyone else? I mean, this is sort of what needs to happen with the supplemental sets, is they can't directly support everything there is in the game. So having a more concise theme is definitely better. But it's just interesting that this completely breaks the mold when we compare it to previous sets, right? When you compare it to Crew, when you compare it to Everfest and Dynasty and their layouts, and just every set layout to begin with. All these Majestics being grouped at the end. All these heroes being grouped weirdly. Everything just being grouped weirdly, right? It's just weird to me. Definitely going to be interesting to see what actually unravels once we hit the spoiler season.